The speeds that we're seeing right now are just absolutely at a minimum. 17 miles per hour, I don't even think is the correct estimation. We're seeing anywhere from about a 5 to 10 mile per hour average speed. The current backup, if we measure this out, is actually closer to about 2 miles. So our current tool showing about a 1.5 to 2 mile backup, and that is as of right now. It's only going to increase. This again is on I-77 southbound. Possible helicopter crash is what they're saying. A lot more information, but only one lane of traffic currently getting by on the left side.
All right, Chris, let's go back to that live pictures if we have it, folks in the control room. Again, if you're just now joining us, the breaking news of the last few minutes, we're being told a helicopter crashed to the side there of I-77. This, to give you some bearings here, this is in between Tyvola and Nations Ford. Zoom out from that. This is probably a few miles southeast of the airport, to give you some indication about where we're talking about right now. One entire part of that Interstate 77 shut down at this point. Just a few sort of cars just going by at this point. We can see just in the last few minutes while we've been bringing you this, they've put up police caution tape around this scene. From our vantage point, to be quite honest with you folks, it's hard to tell about how serious this is, but you can see, even as we speak, more emergency vehicles driving up there on the shoulder, trying to get to this situation, because anytime you have some sort of accident of this magnitude, logistically, it can be quite difficult for first responders to get there just because of the backed up traffic. So you have what you see here, first responders going in on the shoulder, and as we saw just a few moments ago, first responders actually crossing over from the other side of the interstate to get to this site to try to see exactly what the situation is. It appears that this is around a slightly wooded area there along 77, but you know this is also a very populated, very busy part of the interstate. There's hotels around this area, there's shops, there's restaurants, there's schools. So it's unclear if they'll be able to come in from perhaps the other side of that wooded area right now. I'm going to check in with the producers in the control room to see if we have any other information that we're learning in the newsroom. Okay, let's go ahead and bring in Chris and Larry. They're both here standing by in the studio, both very familiar with this area.
The problem is with this kind of situation is the fact that this is going to be shut down, Interstate 77 shut down because of the investigation.
Yes.
And the fact that this is a terrible situation with a possible helicopter crash. If you're headed in that direction, your alternates obviously would be Highway 49 South Triangle would be
Correct.
one way to get around that, Chris.
Yeah, and as we've been watching this, they're still putting up that caution tape. That wasn't there just a couple of minutes ago. So this is a developing situation because of the magnitude of this. Right now, they're letting one car pass at a time. Think about that. One car at a time. Anyone heading I-77 southbound, also look at the day. It's Tuesday before Thanksgiving, so the volume of traffic is actually higher than it usually is. Tomorrow is going to be even higher, but I wouldn't be surprised if at one point I-77 southbound might be completely shut down. People
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah.
Yes. With the investigation, obviously the number of emergency vehicles that are there at the moment, we are not certain exactly. Certainly it could be a helicopter. We are looking at this being shut down. If you're planning to go Interstate 77 southbound, I would make alternate plans at the moment because this is such a serious situation. So you have the options of South Tryon Highway 49. You could also head South Boulevard to Interstate 485, which will take you to Interstate 77 south. There are a lot of traffic. This is such a major highway, north and southbound route right there.
Yeah, and this is one of those things that if you know in advance you're coming from the north, you know that you're going to be heading to South Carolina, there's other ways that I would just even try to avoid it. Even taking the longest route would be taking 485, just because this is going to be a big traffic headache. We had just a regular accident that blocked 3 of the 4 lanes, and that was just after 7 o'clock. The volume of traffic is only going to pick up over the next couple of hours, and I know that seems like an aggressive time frame, but something like this
yeah, this magnitude, exactly. And once again, because of the amount of emergency vehicle activity there, they're going to shut that down, as you can see from the video right there. Once again, the options are, Chris was saying 485. You could take South Tryon Highway 49, will take you south. South Boulevard actually turns into Pineville Matthews Road, eventually Pineville Matthews Road. You can take a turn off onto 485
yes.
to 77 southbound.
Yeah, and those are the best options. It's at this point, just avoid I-77 southbound altogether, because we're going to continue to see an increased backup. And as we mentioned, one car is getting by at a time past this, but this is a developing situation. At one point, I-77, I wouldn't be surprised, is going to be completely shut down.
When
so
they
keep that in mind.
investigate this, as they always do in a serious situation, they'll have to shut it down. And there's a lot of emergency vehicles out there. It's a very dangerous situation right now. A lot of people will be I know that they'll try to find a way to get them out of there. But if you have travel plans to go Interstate 77 southbound going through Charlotte, or if you know someone who is headed in that direction, get in touch with them. Text them or phone them and let them know, because this is a very serious situation, a terrible, tragic accident here off Interstate 77 in South Charlotte.
Yeah, and as we've been talking, just the traffic maps are just picking up on the backup, because everything is turning red. It's stop and go. Might even turn to purple color. That's the worst case scenario. These things are shut down. But what's interesting, usually when you have an incident like this is on I-77 southbound. It's I-77 northbound that's also starting to impact and slowing down, because people are wondering what's going on. So it's kind of the rubbernecks, as they call, looking at this incident. It's really causing a backup in each direction now. Let's bring up our measuring tool, because the backup is much, much further. When we first started this now has a backup of over 3 miles. So that's increased about 1.5 miles over the last 5 to 10 minutes. And that's only probably going to double going forward.
Larry Sprinkle, you've been here for quite some time. I've been here for 15 years. I don't recall a helicopter crash in any recent memory.
Nothing recent. I do remember a helicopter crash probably about 35 years ago near Uptown, near a park near Uptown, but nothing of this magnitude in the area. We've had a few outside of Charlotte, nothing that close to the interstate. I guess at the moment we're trying to figure out why was it near the interstate, what altitude was it, that type of thing right there.
It's interesting because helicopter crashes just are not all that common at all. And while we don't know exactly what happened, and we likely won't know for quite some time, I do think it's telling that in a populated, crowded city like Charlotte, where you have about 8 lanes of interstate right there, you have apartments and buildings all around that area, that perhaps some way this pilot managed to avoid all of that and landed on a thin stretch of grassy area you see there. Again, don't know what was going through that pilot's mind or exactly what happened, but somehow in a crowded metropolitan city managed to avoid all those cars and all that traffic and the nearby buildings.
Do we have the exact location of that?
Right now, this camera right here is mile marker 4.87, and if you're watching this, I-77 southbound's completely shut down right now. Okay. No cars are actively getting by. And if you look on the opposite side, if we can bring this full, you can also see that there's a police car on I-77 northbound. So that's the reason why they're seeing such a big backup as well. And this is averaging, it was before it shut down, 2 miles per hour. You can't use I-77. If you're watching us and you're thinking about heading out, find a different way. It's much better to take 485, as we mentioned. And think about the trickle effect also as well for traffic on such a busy travel day, that Tryon is probably the best way to get around it. That's going to start getting backed up. Yeah. South Boulevard, everything just trickles to all the back roads. So if you can act in advance, if you're coming from Huntersville, coming from Cornelius, just naming a few areas off towards the north, 485 is your best bet if you're trying to get down to the south.
If you're coming northbound, let's say you are coming from Statesville or you're coming from Cornelius or Davidson, take I-485 and take the Matthews exit.
Okay.
That will take you 485. Go that direction. That will get you to Interstate 77. You'll see the signs will take you down as if you're going to Carowinds in that area. That's an option. If you know anyone who's headed southbound or or who maybe in there now, let them know that this is a terrible accident. Interstate 77 southbound. It's going to be shut down for hours. And also, in addition, we're seeing some delays. We're seeing some of the emergency vehicles on that northbound side.
Yeah.
So that's causing problems. You can see the backup on the northbound side as well back in there, Chris.
Yeah, and they're letting a couple of cars through, but this is going to be a kind of on and off, because you can't keep those cars there the whole time. So I think that what they're probably going to do is you're seeing one car's going. That's a trickle of traffic. So the impacts are here. And as you mentioned this, a helicopter crash in anything is a national story. It's not something that happens often, and really thoughts and prayers for anything like that. And this is a big story.
It is 12:15 right now. And for folks just now joining us, and also who are joining us online on WCNC.com, we want to bring you up to speed. There has been a helicopter crash along I-77 between Tyvola Road and Nations Ford Road here in Charlotte. All of this unfolding in the past 15 minutes. We don't know much about who might be on board. We are learning, though, just from aircraft records that it appears it's a 1999 year Robinson helicopter, 4 seats, 1 engine. That's what we know about the make and the craft of this helicopter at this point. Won't go into any other details as far as who might be on board, what might have happened at this point. But